My name is Elliot, and I'm a member of the Third Age Initiative team. And I'm working with the Hartford Public Access TV, HPA-TV. And they're going to be recording the proceedings today in here in the auditorium. Ben? This is Ben. Ben is the chair of the Hartford Advisory Commission on Food Policy, and he's also executive director of the
Ford City Works.
Ford City Works.
Here we go. Good morning. Welcome, by the way, on behalf of all of our staff here at Ford City Works, to the Lyceum. We manage this facility. As many of you know, we do culinary job training for people with barriers to employment. The food that you're enjoying now and will enjoy later was produced by our trainees in our training kitchen, so we hope that you enjoy it and enjoy your time here. We are excited about this conversation this morning, both in terms of the Food Policy Commission, and for those of you who might be thinking to yourself, wow, I didn't know that the city of Hartford had a Food Policy Commission, or you don't know what we do. And so we are really about advocating and learning from the community about what are the needs around the entire food ecosystem, and what are some of the policy implications. And so we are a group of people that are passionate around these issues and how they intersect with all aspects of what life in Hartford is about. So this is a really important conversation. Many of our commissioners are in the room. We're listening. We want to listen and learn. Feel free to pull us aside during breaks. And if you want to know more about the commission, I'd be happy to talk to you about it. And if there are a couple of commissioners in the room, if you just want to raise your hand, if you're involved with the commission, and Meg, she's our staff person there, and so feel free to connect as well. I'm also excited about these issues from the Ford City Works perspective. As many of you know, we recently opened a grocery store here in Hartford, which is right across the street on Broad Street. And it's about food access, and it's also about food security using a income-based sliding scale model. And what that means in plain English is that people pay different prices based on their financial situation. And it's all self-certifying. It takes like 2 minutes to fill out the form, and you don't have to bring in a stack of papers to prove anything. We just believe everybody. And you can qualify for up to a 50% discount on everything in the store, or a 25% discount. Everyone who signs up automatically gets a 3% discount. You get a membership card you swipe when you check out, and it automatically applies the discount. So nobody knows who's on discount, right? The whole process is really simple, and the food is fresh. We source a lot of local products. It's a great place. I encourage you just to check it out. And it's a small grocery store here in Frog Hollow, but we think it's a start in terms of some really creative and innovative ways to address these issues. And my hope is that that's what today is all about. We all know that food insecurity, nutrition insecurity is a significant problem, a significant challenge for many of us, for our neighbors, for our city, and honestly, beyond Hartford, right? We know that food insecurity is an issue in all 169 towns in the state of Connecticut. But we also know that in certain neighborhoods and in certain cities and certain municipalities, it is more concentrated. And we know that in Hartford, that is very true. And that the challenges are significant. We also know that food insecurity is linked to a number of other issues, and that the challenges are there, right? So put really simply, and I don't need to tell you this, but I'm going to say it so that we're kind of all together and can be reminded of the reality, right? Hungry kids don't learn well, right? Hungry adults aren't very productive at work. Right? It exacerbates physical issues, mental health issues, right? All kinds of different dynamics. We know that. The statistics are overwhelming, right? So this isn't just about getting food on the table, right? It's about thinking through our entire ecosystem and how do we create an environment, right, that produces healthy, thriving citizens, families, neighbors, neighborhoods, and cities. So that's the conversation we're hoping to have today. And we really hope that we get to the solution side. And that's why we're here to listen, and that's what's going to happen during the breakouts and the panels is we really want to hear what are the practical solutions? What are the things that would make your lives easier, our lives easier, our neighbors' lives easier? Right? What are the ways that we can move forward in practical ways? And I want everyone to understand that we do not conceive of this today as the first of a conversation. We know this has been an ongoing conversation. It's a conversation many of us are having all the time. This is also definitely not the last of the conversation. We're already planning a follow-up for November. We're hoping to get some real action steps. And so this isn't just where we all talk and go home and feel good about ourselves, but nothing happens. We want to make sure that we are learning together and that we are taking next steps together. But we're not naive enough to think that this happens in a bubble or in isolation, right? This is part of an ongoing collective conversation that needs to be taking place as we move forward. So that's the goal of today. Before I move ahead and kind of begin to introduce our first speaker and some of the content, I do want to acknowledge particularly Leadership Greater Hartford and the team of folks who have helped really do a lot of the work and the envisioning to put this together. All their names are in there, and all the supporters and all the people who funded this event are in your bulletin. So you want to check that out. But I'm incredibly grateful for their leadership and their vision and their commitment to the issue. And again, their commitment to not making this just a one-off, but really part of that ongoing conversation. So I hope that you are excited to be here this morning. I hope you're enjoying the food. I hope you enjoy some of the connections here as community. But I also hope that we challenge each other. I hope that we're creating a space that we can be honest with each other. And to that end, when we go into breakouts, I just want to remind us that we are here to learn and to listen and to share our own experiences. And so let's make sure that we come at that with respect for others. We don't need to push back or argue if we disagree with somebody. We're listening and we're learning. And collectively, we're trying to coming up with some ideas. So is everyone in for that? Sure. Great. One last logistical thing. We also want to just note that we really value your time. We know that it's actually, we're asking a lot for you to be here. And so we do have, for folks who are community members, some gift cards that are available as just our way of saying thank you for being part of this. It's honestly just a small token of what the time is, but it's just our way of saying thank you for being a part of this conversation. And so those will be available at the end today. There's a little transaction in there that we want you to fill out your survey at the end to give us information before you get them, but it's a gift from us. And so you can get those at the end. And I will say that I think there are two in most packets. There's a generalized one, like I think a Visa, but there's also one to Grocery on Broad. So we hope that you'll use that and check out the grocery and create a membership right now and get all those discounts and double the use of that card and all that kind of stuff. So we hope that works out well. This morning, as we move forward, there are going to be a couple of different things that happen. We have a speaker, and then we're going to do breakouts, which I think is going to be really the meaty part of all this. And then we're going to have a panel discussion, and then we're going to pull together some conclusions as we move forward. So each step of this is designed to help us further the conversation. And I could not be more delighted for our speaker who's going to set the stage for us. Ebony Jackson Shahid, who is the Director of Health and Human Services here in the city of Hartford. Now, just a little side note, I didn't get talking points, so I'm just going to make some up, as I promised. So a Nobel laureate. She is also an MVP in the WNBA. No, just kidding. Jackson Shahid, she came to the city of Hartford from her work in Bridgeport. She has a long, really impressive resume around community organizing, community work, networking, around community health issues broadly, and a passion around food security issues. She really is a gift to the city of Hartford. If you've not gotten to know her and see the work that she's doing, the advocacy that she's doing for us. And so if nothing else, certainly as a commissioner, here as a citizen in Hartford, I'm thankful that you're here, but more importantly, I'm thankful for the work that you do and your department does, and what that means for us in Hartford. And so I hope that if nothing else, we inspire a little confidence in our city, that the city cares and is listening and is engaged with its citizens and engaged with these issues. I also know, as a side note, that Mayor Arunan, Erlamplam, would have loved to have been here. I know he couldn't be, but he is also passionate about these issues, and I know that because I have these conversations with him regularly. And he lives in our Frog Hollow neighborhood. He's a regular, by the way, at the grocery store and at the restaurant. And so he sends his greetings. I think that's enough for me as we laid out. Once again, thank you for being here. Please engage. We want to hear, we want to learn, and we want to come up with next steps. And so without further ado, I want to turn it over to our speaker and our guest, Ebony Jackson Shaheed. Let's give a round of applause.
Good thing I have on some sort of a vest today so that I can, yes, I can. Oh, look at that. Good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing? I know it's early, but can I get a good morning, everyone? How's everyone doing? Okay. I am feeling very amped up because yesterday I went to the NAACP dinner last night, and as they said throughout their speech, one of the things that the president mentioned, he said, "Are you all in?" And then everyone said, "We're all in." So I think I'm going to say that too. So are we all in? All in. Ooh, are we all in? All in. Oh, I like that. Okay. So I think I want to start out just talking about what exactly these definitions mean, right? We're in a space where we use acronyms a lot, and we are talking about food insecurity, food security, nutrition insecurity, and like what some of those things actually mean and what they look like. And then I'm going to actually get a little personal and open up a little bit, because I think that it's important that people understand how these type of issues, they come and go at times, right? And what they look like and how they show up in individuals' lives. So I think we'll start out with food security. And so food security, according to the National Institute of Minority Health and Health Disparities, basically means having access to enough food for an active, healthy life. Nutrition security means consistent access, availability, and affordability of foods and beverages that promote well-being, prevent disease, and if needed, treat disease. And that's really important because a lot of people don't think about food as preventing disease, but that is exactly the purpose of food. It is to nourish the body, and it is to actually help to treat disease or prevent disease. So when we're talking about health outcomes and how it's directly related to food, this is exactly what we're talking about. So what is food insecurity, and what does that look like? So food insecurity is a lack of access to affordable, nutritious food. And this is often associated with increased risk for multiple chronic health conditions, such as diabetes, obesity, heart disease, mental health disorders, and other chronic diseases. Some of those mental health disorders, have you ever seen a child that has not eaten breakfast? Okay, I used to be a preschool teacher. So if they had not eaten, and it's something routine going on in their lives, it can really lead to behavioral disorders, right? They're not getting enough minerals, enough vitamins, and this can directly affect behavioral disorders. So in 2021, here's the stats part of me, the epidemiologist in me is coming out. In 2020, almost 15% of US households were considered food insecure at some point. 15% of all US households. It's really, really high. 20% of African Americans in 2021, 20% of African Americans or Black households were food insecure at some point. And as 16% of Hispanic and Latino households, in comparison to 7% of white households. So if we look at those numbers, for a lot of African American and Latinos, we are not considered right now the majority of the population. So if we're looking at 20% of African American or Black households being food insecure at some point, that's a pretty large percent. So now you can start painting the picture and seeing what these health disparities really are and how they're playing out in our communities. And when we're talking about at some point, right, we say at some point, what does that mean? Well, I grew up in New Haven in the 90s. So this is before the glitz and glam New Haven that we see right now. I saw a little bit of it. Yale was working at that point. But I grew up, I am the oldest of 7 children, second oldest of 12. So it was his, mine, and ours. And my mother was a stay-at-home mom, and my stepfather at that time worked in a group home. I did not live with my dad, which he, was in a different income bracket than we were, but we experienced food insecurity. And what that does at one point in your life really does affect the things that happen in post-life or adulthood. And so as a child, I remember one story, or one time where I was with my mother and we had $11 to feed me and my siblings. And so what we did was when we went to the grocery store, right? So even if you have access to a grocery store in your neighborhood, the fact that you don't have the affordability piece, you have $11 to feed all of those children. What are you buying? We bought a gallon of milk. We bought a carton of eggs. We bought the no frills cornflakes, okay? And we bought some of the egg noodles. You guys remember what those egg noodles are? And we bought a can of tuna because we were thinking about a meal, possibly breakfast, and how that was gonna feed everyone. But I think this story, it has imprinted everything in my mind. It has basically affected and been my determination for a lot in my life because of this particular story that I remember. And how did that affect later on in adulthood is the choices. It's the lifestyle choices. Not to say that I was particularly eating bad food, right? Because we had eggs, we had milk, we were eating things that were considered healthy. However, eating carbs only because you couldn't afford the vegetables or you couldn't afford the fruit made my lifestyle choices that way when I became an adult. So at 24, I ended up getting a gallbladder removal because for a year I could not afford, as a college student, food. So what do you do when you're in college? I remembered what my mom used to do and how we used to go to the bodegas and shop, right? How, I would get, I see that there's, at McDonald's, they have the 2-for-1. So I'm gonna buy that. And then I'll buy the pasta. And then I'll buy this. But that's not the minerals and vitamins that my body actually needed to survive and to have a healthy lifestyle. We're talking about food security and having an active, healthy life. Well, because of those experiences that I experienced in my early childhood, it affected my lifestyle choices later on. And that's really, really important. It wasn't until at this point where we're talking about food security and how it's not only just an individual, but neighborhood. Now I'm able to afford, and now I can go and drive to a store and I say, you know what? I need to buy those vegetables and cook them. I now can afford the fruit. It shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be where anybody in one of the richest countries in the world does not have the opportunity to buy fresh fruit and fresh vegetables, other produce, and even have the educational mindset also of what you do with those things. That's another thing. There's a cultural component to food security, to food insecurity. A lot of times we grew up in households where even if we did have fruits and vegetables, those fruits and vegetables are saturated in oil, sugar, salt, which contributes to the health outcomes that we're seeking. I know in my household, especially my grandmother who came from Florida, I love her to death. She made some really, really good meals for us. But when we had eggplant, I don't know about you, but my eggplant was eggplant parmesan and it was dripping with that canola oil. And it was tasty, right? But that's not the healthiest way that we could make that. So those are some of the things that we're talking about when we're talking about food security, food insecurity, and how that will affect our lives. So, to some of the questions, how do we as a health department characterize healthy food for healthy communities and what that looks like? Really for us, we contribute. We are there. Our part is to be a partner and support and advocacy for community organizations, as well as writing for grants, right? So we write for grants, and those grants assist community organizations with helping their missions come to light. I think part of our job is to think outside the box and help the community to do so as well. Sometimes we think about systems and we think about one system. Well, has the system always been the right way for us? Has it been set up for us the entire time to really serve what we need? Not always. So we have to think outside the box at times and create our own systems so that we can get the results that we need for our communities. What are some of the solutions that we have, or what are we doing at the health department? Well, we do have the CDC grant. It's the REACH grant. And basically, we campaign for movement, healthy lifestyle choices. We have our senior centers where we offer 2 meals a day and where we partner with other community organizations to have farmers markets, specifically in the North End. And we're also involved with many collaborative groups and people that I see here to provide support on food policy and basically creating a way for our neighborhood to change the landscape of what our neighborhood looks like when it comes to food access. So that is our priority at the health department. We will continue to do this work. This is something that's personal to me. And it's unfortunate that most African American people in this country, as well as Latino brothers and sisters, have experienced this at some point in their lives. It's really sad that we all have this story. Even at the levels that we've ascended to, we all can go back to a story. And let's not talk about how that contributes to violence and all other things that are happening in our community. So all of this is interrelated. And if we're looking at this as a public health lens, which a lot of people tend to, throw on the public health at the end of a condition, we really need to look at it from a public health lens. If this is the issue, food insecurity, what's the root cause? That's how an epidemiologist would look at it, right? When we're doing these health needs assessments, we see what some of these root causes are. What are we doing about them? What are we doing about the poverty? What are we doing about the inadequate housing? Those are a lot of the issues. Not having equal job opportunities. These are some of the issues that contribute to food insecurity. So what are we doing about that landscaping the neighborhood, right? The zoning issues. What businesses are able to come into our neighborhoods and not? What's keeping out the healthy food source? Looking at some of those core issues and solving those so that we can get to a point where we can even talk about this outcome. This is an outcome of some of these major core issues. So if we're looking at it from a public health lens, let's do that together. But I did want to bring up someone who, I don't know if people know really how the health department is structured, but I do have deputies, and I wanted to introduce one of my deputies. This is my deputy of health and human services, Jessica Forquet. And she is a Latina woman, okay? And it is the Hispanic Heritage Month, so I wanted her to come up and be able to talk to you about some of these topics in your native language. Not just reading it, which is great. But I know sometimes when you're reading it on a board, it takes away from the actual experience. So I do want to introduce you to Jessica.
Buenos días a todos. Bueno, gracias, Evelyn, por darme la oportunidad de hablar aquí en su idioma. Y por tenernos a nosotros aquí en el día de hoy. Yo estoy muy agradecida de haber llegado al Departamento de Salud y ser parte de estas iniciativas. Una de las cosas que Ebony está hablando de los programas es REACH, que queremos disminuir esas diferencias raciales y éticas aquí en la ciudad de Hartford, y entre las estrategias tenemos nutrición. Tenemos nutrición y el hacer ejercicio, tener una vida más activa. En estos programas es a base tratamos de conectar con diferentes agencias para proveer vouchers para que nuestra comunidad tenga acceso a una mejor nutrición, de que puedan ir al supermercado y no solamente comprar cosas en latas, como está hablando Ebony, sino también de poder tener acceso a vegetales, a frutas, a cosas que sean más nutritivas, con un nivel nutricional más alto. También con el Departamento de Transportación Pública estamos tratando de tener unas áreas más accesibles, más safe, más seguras, para que las personas puedan ir, trabajar, jugar y tener una vida más activa, hacer un transporte activo. Eso es entre las cosas que estamos trabajando. I'm not sure if I'm missing anything. Pero estamos allí para servirles. Si necesitan ayuda, este programa de REACH nos está tratando de conectar a diferentes recursos que tenemos accesibles para nuestra población en la ciudad. Bueno, eso es lo que quería dejarles saber. Aquí para servirles siempre. Gracias.
Good morning, folks. We're ready to go to breakout rooms.
The introductions, which you saw, we broke up into breakout rooms or breakout areas. And there were 7 of them, and we did not record any of that. It gave the community an opportunity in a private setting to express their feelings about food insecurity, what they like to see happen in Hartford. And so that took about an hour and a half. And while that was going on, we had an opportunity to do some other interviews. I'm at the community conversations on nutrition and food security, and I'm about to speak to Catrice Claudio, who is going to do the question and answer sessions here. So let me introduce you to Catrice.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So happy to be here. My name is Catrice Claudio. I am the food program manager here at Reset in partnership with Fire by Forge and the Lyceum. And we also work with the Hartford Food Policy Commission as well. So I'm excited to be here and help facilitate an important conversation.
So as handling the questions and answer period, in this situation, what would you like to see the outcomes of this conference? What would you like to see happen?
I think it's important that the audience understands the panel in front of them is there to serve them, and they're not there as authorities on a given subject, but as a vessel to make these outcomes materialize, make sure that we're serving their outcomes and their bottom line as well as a community. And so my goal is to empower them to inform the panel, not necessarily have the panel inform the audience.
So have you ever been in a conference where listening is where people in the community get listened to as opposed to be talked to?
I think there's a balance of both sometimes. People do like to hear themselves speak, but I'm a big fan of active and intentional listening, intentional conversations, and so hopefully that's what we do today.
Being a resident, where do you live here in Connecticut?
I'm in Bloomfield.
So are you aware of some of the food insecurity issues there are here in Connecticut and in Hartford?
Oh my God, absolutely. I myself have experienced food insecurity. There was times when I was without access to employment and I had two small children and they ate and I didn't, right? So, part of food security impacts everyone at different phases in life, and access to nutrient-dense foods, affordable foods is vital. If it wasn't for the local farmers market, sometimes I wouldn't have been able to have an abundant plate at home. So this is another resource we need to make available to our communities as well.
So currently, what do you see as possible solutions to the impasse of getting access to nutritious food in the community?
I think the solutions are really in the people. I think we have to build a better relationship with not only the food we eat, but the community that we're engaged in, our environment. I think if we understood how food impacts us, if we understood how food is made and distributed, we would be more active in those conversations so that we wouldn't experience insecurity.
Good. Well, thank you for joining us. Well, we'll look forward to, we'll see you at the question and answer period. I'm talking to,
Desiree Picard.
okay, and why did you come today? Why did you come today?
I came today. I'm a community health worker with Community Renewal Team here in Hartford. So being a community health worker, I like to know what's happening and what's going on in the community. So I thought this was a really good topic of conversation and an event to come to just kind of report back to my families and try to get some resources for them for food and nutrition.
So what would you like to see, whatever everybody talked about, what would you like to see the outcome happened in the next year or so?
For families to have enough resources to obtain food, good food in school systems, money so families can have enough to feed their children and feed themselves, proper education as well, and for everyone to have access for food.
All right, good. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Back again with Andrew May. So Andrew, you came to the food conference. Why did you come?
I am a Hartford resident, so I'm really concerned about the city, and food policy has been a particular focus for a while.
Why? Why?
I like to garden. I like to grow food. I've worked on farms in my life, and universally, everybody eats. It could potentially be a good access to help other things like healthcare and.
So so listening to the conversation, there will be more questions than answers. What would you like to see come out of this conference?
I'd like to think that with the networking piece, in my particular group, I might have been, or I was certainly, we were lower Hartford residents. There were people from the neighboring towns. So I certainly hope we learn to work together regionally. And when we ended it, it was I forgot the exact question, but one specific thing I'd really love to see is everyone supporting the nonprofit grocery store right across the street. That's a fantastic idea.
Okay, I'm going to give the mic off to Marisol de Cordova, who speaks Spanish and I don't, to interview this young woman. So, you take the microphone, introduce yourself.
Hola, me llamo Maricel de Córdoba.
Okay, and ask who this is.
¿Cómo usted se llama?
Mi nombre es Jimena.
Okay, so ask her why she came today.
¿Por qué usted vino hoy?
Vine el día de hoy invitada por una amiga
She was invited by a friend
para poder tener información y aportar ideas
to obtain information and ideas
acerca de esta charla de nutrición, ¿no?
about nutrition, about the discussion of nutrition, about the discussion of nutrition.
What would you like to see come out of this?
¿Qué a usted le gustaría ver salir de esto?
Me gustaría que se pueda tomar nuestras ideas y nos pueden escuchar las voces de nosotros, ¿no? De los padres, más que todo por los niños, por las personas mayores.
If they can take into account of all that we have spoken about and really take it into consideration, what we talked about with families, with children, with parents about nutrition.
Para así poder llevar una alimentación adecuada, balanceada y no poder tener enfermedades a largo plazo.
So we can have, good nutrition, adequate and healthy nutrition, so that way as we get older, that we're not ailed because we're not eating properly.
Sí, eso.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Maricel.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Hi, Elliot Bratsky again. I'm going to interview one of my fellow team members in Third Age Initiative, who at this conference is leading the pack for us. It's Dave Doot. I'll just hold the mic. Go ahead.
Hey, good morning. I'm Dave Doot. It has been such a pleasure to work with this team and to work with the Hartford Advisory Commission on Food Policy. This is what we had hoped for in terms of the community engagement. We had a sellout crowd, which we're very happy about, and hopefully we'll get some really good ideas coming out of this conference. We're looking forward to finding a way to ensure that there's a good follow-up on those ideas. I have to say a lot of what we've done was molded by the passion and involvement of Elliot and Melissa, his partner, in terms of really focusing us on listening to the community, not on telling the community what is going to be done. We probably spent the first 5 or 6 months thinking about, and in some cases arguing about, what needed to be done. And the more we talked about it, the more we were persuaded that we didn't know, and that the community, the people who are living these experiences, are the ones who best know what should be done to help them. And that is our hope, that what comes out of today is that. And for anybody watching, I hope you will see, as we get later into this conference, that there are some good ideas that have come out, and that you'll stick with us as we follow through in early November and hopefully beyond, to do what we can in our own way to reduce food and nutrition insecurity in Hartford.
Great. Thank you very much, Dave.
Thank you, Elliot.
Immediately after this program, we'll follow the question and answer session of Community Conversations on Nutrition and Food Security. Hope you enjoy it.
Good morning, y'all. How are y'all? Thank you for participating in this necessary conversation. I am Catrice Claudio. I am the food program manager at Reset. I'm also very obsessed with food culture and food ways and access to healthy and nutritious food and nutrition education. And one thing that I will say personally is I'm one of those folks where I used to be one of those folks where things like this would come up and I would believe there was somebody better to do it. And none of y'all made that decision today, so thank you. Thank you for being here, giving your feelings, your investments, your ideas, because this is something that everyone at this panel is passionate about, and they're here to serve. My goal in this conversation is to not have this wonderful group of knowledgeable and connected people be an authority to inform you. All of these folks work as connectors for services that cannot move, that cannot make impact without your engagement and without your information. So I realized a big common conversation that was happening at each of the tables was these abundance of organizations and resources, but nobody really knows who they are and what they do. So I would like to take a few minutes for each person to introduce themselves, their organization, and exactly what their role is or what their desired role is in the community. Starting with Dr. Cooksey Stowers.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Good afternoon, you guys. I just echo the excitement that everyone came out. I know our group had a great conversation. I feel so energized and enlightened. So I'm Kristen Cooksey Stowers. I'm an assistant professor at UConn Hartford campus and Rudd Center for Food Policy and Health. I am a partner with the Community Action Task Force. The chair, Denise, goes next and sitting next to me. And so in terms of what I try to contribute to the conversation is two things. I'm a trained social scientist, so when it comes to needing data and evidence, and I mean data widely, I mean data meaning surveys, photos, stories, focus groups to elevate the movement, that's what I do. And that's sort of how I try to contribute training to draw those connections between the stories and the lived experience of folks like yourselves. And certainly as I shared, I have to always reveal myself, I'm not from Hartford, but I was born and raised on the south side of Chicago, and the Hartford and North Hartford have become near and dear to me because it's so much like where I grew up. And so many folks remind me of my aunts and people in my church that the community met me and got stuck with me ever since over the last 9 years. So I try to contribute just that training as a social scientist with a PhD in public policy to draw those stories to in a language, in a way that policymakers and developers and organizational partners can interpret it. So I try to be a translator in that way. And then the second role that I try to contribute is knowing how to do in-depth data collection and analyses of policies. So when I'm a policy girl. So when it comes to trying to figure out is it a missing policy? Is it a policy that's in place but is broken? Or was it a policy put in place that happened with closed doors? I'm your girl.
She is. Hi, I'm Denise Holter, and I chair the Community Action Task Force. We are a resident-led initiative focused on addressing the health disparities, primarily in the residents of North Hartford, focused on nutrition as the source of those health disparities. And our role is as a convener, networker of organizations doing the work. And our primary project currently is the establishment of a full-service grocery store in the Arrowhead Gateway area. Arrowhead Gateway area being the most viable location of a full-service grocery store that would meet the needs of the city of Hartford, but more importantly, the needs of the residents of North Hartford who have an 18-year lifespan gap between them and between us and our neighbors 1 zip code away. And that would involve not only the establishment of a full-service grocery store, but small businesses, owner-occupied homes, and access to services in the form of maybe a life center, family life center, that would be adjacent to the grocery store in the Arrowhead Gateway as a model to be replicated throughout the rest of North Hartford so that we can go from surviving to thriving.
My name is Mary Cockrum. I'm a commissioner with the Hartford Advisory Commission on Food Policy. I'm here because that 18-year difference in ages at a geographic boundary is heartbreaking and deeply unfair. And I think one of the things I bring is my brain is always like, okay, how are we going to make that happen? How do we, what are the incentives for all the people to really make something happen? And that's what I love figuring that sort of thing out.
Oh, it's almost good afternoon, so I will say good afternoon. My name is Martha Page, and a longtime Hartford resident and a commissioner, prior chair of the commission, and a former executive director of a food-based nonprofit organization, and with a background in public health, and all of those things really connect. You can't have a healthy community if you do not have healthy food, period. End of story. And so all of the different ways that can happen, from making sure that we have enough places to buy healthy food, to making sure that our kids are properly fed in schools, to making sure that our seniors are well taken care of, that all of those things are important, and I'm interested in all of them.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Janet Bermudez. I am the Deputy Executive Director of Hands on Hartford. I've been with the organization 17 years in different capacities. Our mission is to provide programs that target food access, health, nutrition, homeless prevention, and housing. And I've had the opportunity to oversee a lot of those programs that are providing these programs to the community. And I am really invested in having these conversations and really hearing from all of you, what are the challenges, what are the needs? Because when we're putting programs together, your voice matters, right? So I'm really excited to be here. I'm privileged to be here, and it's great to have been able to participate in this conversation today. So thank you.
Is it afternoon yet? Did it, Mark? Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Luis Rodriguez Porter, and I am the rep with Connecticut Food Share, overseeing all of our partnerships in the city of Hartford. In my role, I am the person responsible for making sure that they are compliant and making sure that folks entering these spaces are treated well, with dignity, but also educating them on change, right? We can't serve people the way we used to serve people, but creating a space where folks can have these conversations. So I am that rep with Connecticut Food Share, overseeing the city of Hartford.
Hello, I'm Richard Frieder. I work with a group called Know Thy Neighbor. We're a little different than everybody else up here in that we're a community initiative that got started 7 or 8 years ago. Our mission, our purpose is to bring together Hartford residents with police officers, firefighters, and ambulance service staff, talk about community concerns, and then work together to take action. The particular reason I'm here is that this time, we go through that cycle. So this time around, the community concern that bubbled up to the top, out of about 30 concerns that were raised, is the issue that we're focusing on today, healthy food and food insecurity. So Know Thy Neighbor is very community driven. It's about getting to action. It's about bringing people together. And so I would invite you all, by the way, our website is ktnhartford.org, to come. Our next meeting is next Thursday night. I have flyers here, by the way. We meet at 2550 Main Street. We're at the action phase. So we identified the issue. We brainstormed ideas. We're now taking action. So it's a really exciting time to join us. So please come, and you can be part of continuing to talk about how to take action on this big and complex topic. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I have my list. So just so we're clear, this is a conversation election. So you are all welcome to join as you see fit. Raise your hands if you have questions. We have David in the back who has a microphone for you, so do not be shy. My name is Catrice. Call me if you don't have my attention, all right? So my first question for you all is, one thing that we're hearing amongst this group of people is the disconnect between what you do and how they're engaged. They feel that there is not either good enough information to them or accessible information. Hello. Or accessible information getting to them. So under what circumstances can the community come in, learn more about what you're doing, collaborate and participate in some of the solutions and actions that you are creating with your organizations? Go right ahead. You got a mic right there, Ms. Denise.
CADF is a volunteer organization. We have monthly meetings every third Thursday, and we need people to work with us. Thank you, Sabra. Second Thursday of the month. The work that we're doing is based on what our neighbors have said needs to be done. But if it's only 10, 20, 30 people, the decision makers don't have to listen. And so the more people we have working with us, not just our supporting organizations, but actual members with lived experience, you're going to listen to us because the decisions you're making impact us, and you don't have the authority to act on our behalf when you haven't listened to what we need to say. That's what needs to happen, and that's the role. The CATF is not the only organization doing that work, but that's why we exist, and we need your help to get the job done.
Similarly, okay, the commission it's your commission. If you're a Hartford resident, is this? Okay, if the Hartford Advisory Commission on Food Policy has existed for more than 30 years. It is a citizen commission. It is required to exist. The city's municipal code mandates that we have a commission, and it can only be successful in its mission of elevating community voice to community leaders about matters related to food if we get that community voice right. And as a public commission, it is open by law to anyone who wants to come. And we are very welcoming of visitors and voices, and we don't stand on a lot of ceremony. It doesn't look like a city meeting. It looks like a meeting of people who want to talk about healthy food. And so that's another mechanism that. Oh, how do they find out about meetings? They're on the website. It is this, it's been a little fluid. If anyone is interested in the current schedule, then you can come see me afterwards, but we can make sure that communication out to the group about upcoming meetings will be shared, if that's okay.
Thank you. So these folks at this table, again, they're connectors to the community, and oftentimes I like to highlight that fortunately it's a diverse panel here, but most times we walk into these establishments, feel like there's people who look like us, or who feel like us, or who understand us, or who are in touch with our journey, right? So for folks who feel hesitant or skeptical about the impact that they can have with the information they give you, if someone comes to you and says, I can't access anything to feed my baby, I can't get baby formula, or I can't get vegetables, where would you refer folks who have the inability to access it now, and what resources are available to get it to them when it's after work hours, or when it's not the most convenient for the nonprofits and for the company to provide those services? Do we have knowledge of those resources?
So we operate, we have a food pantry on 55 Bartholomew Avenue. We're there Monday through Friday. We're typically open until 5 p.m. Folks can just walk in. There is no appointment or anything necessary. Doesn't matter if you come in through the front door, back door. We will get you to the right place. We also serve, the fresh produce. We have milk, we have eggs, and the person actually shops for what they want. So we're not pre-bagging the food, again, trying to give people choice. We want people to take food home that they're going to be able to cook, use, eat, and that, is familiar to them. So we are open Monday through Fridays, and we're on 55 Bartholomew Avenue. Usually when folks come into the pantry, they'll say they need other items or other things. So then at that point, the staff person will try to connect them, if we have the service, in-house to whoever the next person is. So we have some homeless prevention availability, so we might be able to connect them to the next staff person. They don't need to leave and go somewhere else. We're big on partnerships. So we do bring other partners in-house. So if you come to our food pantry the first and third Wednesday of the month, Hartford Healthcare is there running their community clinic. So you can get health services at the same time. So we're trying to do that more and more when we're able to build those partnerships within the community so that folks, that issue about transportation becomes less of an issue, to the person walking through our door. So Monday through Friday, we're typically open. Folks can just walk in.
Thank you.
The hours, 9:30 to 5 for our pantry. We do have an innovative restaurant as well, which is Gather 55. It's a participation model restaurant. So what that means is you as a community member decide how you're going to participate in the restaurant. We provide a restaurant quality meal. A person can choose to participate by paying full price for the meal. A person can choose to participate by paying the minimum of $3 for a meal. And a person can choose to participate by volunteering for 30 minutes and receive a meal. We also know that there are some folks who may not be able to do any of those three options and may be dealing with other things that are making a challenge for them, and then we then provide a voucher for that person because we don't want to turn anyone away, especially we know everyone needs to eat.
I wanted to draw the attention to the audience because I have somebody right next to me who has a question. So.
Perfect.
I had a question to the last speaker. When someone comes to your facility, are they screened for income or anything to see if they qualify to get your service?
So with our pantry, they do have to self-attest that they meet the certain income requirement, but it's a self-attestation. We're not asking you to bring us any documentation of that. So you're saying, you fall under these certain guidelines. That's it.
And I have a resource that I would like to share here today. What we do at Connecticut Food Share, we have a huge social media presence. We're making sure that everything that we're sharing with folks is in multiple languages. But a resource that we do share with folks constantly is our text feature. So if you want to write this number down, I can share it with you now. And like Janice said, our resources are statewide, not just Hartford. So you could be driving through New Haven and you need food access. You can find the schedule of our mobile trucks and where our pantries are located statewide. So here it is. Text the word food share, all capital letters, to the number 85511 and pick your town, punch in the first three letters, and you're gonna get a list. If you need it in Spanish, same thing. Text the word comida to the same number, and again, you will get a list of all the spaces in the state. And to your question, our pantry partners, it is that. There is a thing where folks think, oh, if I go to a pantry, I'm gonna have to bring my bills and I have to bring this. Not at all. It is, I'm here, I need food, can you give me some food? And that's it. 85511.
Some of these places that food share trucks have their trucks on site, you have to be signed up with those places in order to get any food. Because you can come and say, I'm hungry, I need some food, but if you're not signed up with those facilities that the truck is parked on, they're not gonna give you no food until everybody in that line that's signed up with that place gets their food first. And sometimes those trucks run out of food, and those people that's truly looking for a meal or some food to bring home can't get no food that day from that truck. So what do they do then? They got to search around to other facilities or places where food share is being dispensed to get something to bring home to eat.
I think that's reflective of a disparity in communication. I think everybody agrees that we're looking to find out ways to effectively operate and participate in these systems and with these organizations, right? And so with that being a barrier, that's something for them to consider. The fact that maybe signing up for a registration ain't the most convenient thing for somebody who just needs a meal and may not have money for the electric bill or the internet bill, right? So with that concern, I think that's valid, I think it's valuable. And also what you just taught me is that if y'all want some food from Food Share, y'all gotta sign up. What are other alternatives? If they can't go online, can they walk into a building? Can they send some type of in-person engagement to get some help?
So there's, in Hartford currently right now, there's about 59 partner agencies that operate food pantries, and there's 15 mobile stops in the city where folks can get access to food. But if situations like this come, I am that person that can go back to that pantry and educate them and tell them, hey, you have folks that are continuously calling me or telling me that the food truck is leaving and folks are still in line. And that the only way I can fix that is if you tell me and I go back to central office and share those thoughts and feelings with them.
And constant reminder, these are your connectors. Go ahead, Dr. Stowers. Oh, mic's down there.
I just wanted to add another way to engage with Connecticut Food Share. I was a board member of Connecticut Food Share for 8 years, 2016 to this year, and then transitioning now to the research lead between UConn and Connecticut Food Share. The organization is it's really acknowledged at the Feeding America level as willing to push the needle forward. So elevating Sabra's comments about things going wrong, it's one of the first in the country to create a neighbor advisory council and calling the residents that steer decisions neighbors instead of beneficiaries or clients to try to show like, we're partners in this work. So both and acknowledging that there's a need for food then, but also there is a lack of experience, coming up in the boardroom, coming up in staff, coming up among the decision makers organizationally and partner level to Sabra's point of what actually happens boots on the ground, right? Because the decision makers can say, okay, we have the mobile sites, right? We're doing a good thing, but it takes a voice like that to say, but do you know if you get there, you got to wait to the end and then the food runs out. And if we're approaching the work with sort of the grace and understanding that everyone is trying to do their best, like that's an important part to come with, then more than often than not, people are saying, I didn't realize that. And you know what? There's a huge recognition that that kind of insight is a game changer for the work. And so there is willingness to provide a gift card to you for those hours you spend with us and the meals for the time, right? Because for a long time, people were volunteering all that good information and not being compensated. So I wanted to acknowledge that, like, if you are interested in sharing all of that lived experience of what it's like to be in a pantry, things to improve, reach out to Connecticut Food Share. Myself, I can help connect bridges to engage as a neighbor advisor council member so that you are receiving food, but you're also changing the way the organization works.
Thank you so much. We have a question in the audience.
Okay, I just wanted to say, because I go to the food share trucks all the time, I believe during COVID, they stopped where you had to be a member of the organization where the truck was parked in order to get the services first. I have not come across it since 2020 that there has been a condition of the members of the organization or people who are clients of the organization go first. I have not come across that since 2020. So if someone is doing that, they're doing it wrong. They're not supposed to be doing that, so you have to report that. But as far as you were asking about after hours, if someone needs something after hours, people have to go to the mutual aid groups, people have to go online to Facebook, people have to go to the different Hartford-based groups and ask their questions there, because a lot of the organizations are not available after business hours.
How many of us?
I give out food on Sunday mornings. You come there, you show up, you get food. Depending on what we have. And I think that going online for like after hour stuff, a lot of, going online, going on Facebook, interacting with other people in the community. There's a lot of us who go to the different food share trucks, who go to the different food distributions, and we're like a little encyclopedia of the different places and happily share that information. So if you go to one, just ask people, where's the next one? How can I go? I work until 5 o'clock. Where can I get some food? And you're better off talking to residents and community members because a lot of these organizations have limited capacity. They can't be, servicing you at 7 o'clock at night. So
there's
reach out to your other community members, reach out to your neighbors.
How many of us are familiar with mutual aid and mutual aid programs? Show of hands. Mutual aid. This is when the community itself pulls together resources and makes sure that it's accessible to the people who need them. And there's a lot less bureaucracy, a lot less system engagement, but a lot of abundance in the process as well. It's a great community builder. There's opportunity. Thank you very much for bringing that up, that on weekends, post hours, mutual aid steps in where the gap exists. Is there potential for partnerships and mutual aid organizations to help bridge that gap between these organizations and the community. Have we considered that? Or is there potential for it? I know the commission is looking for ways to expand on engagement in the community.
Hold it up again. Okay, I'm not sticking it in your mouth. Okay. You know, mutual aid is a very, very old concept and has been around in communities for many, many decades. And it actually experienced an incredible renaissance during COVID times. And there were, you know, when there were lots of resources around and lots of extra money in the system, the issue with sustaining that is that much like pandemic, oh, is the battery dying? With like pandemic EBT, that it's great when it's there and then it disappears. All right, and so now it's not, it needs to be a sustainable model. And so to Catrice's point, the idea of partnerships with mutual aid so that we're not, you know, we do this a lot in Hartford, and and I don't think that Hartford is by itself, is that, you know, you tend to be operating in stovepipes instead of across. And if we were to be much more intentional in that, I think that some of these amazingly wonderful community-centered ideas like mutual aid would have a better shot of being sustainable models within the community.
Awesome. Ms. Denise, Ms. Holter.
Thank you. To respond to Martha's comments, as a volunteer with a full-time job, with a volunteer initiative that's also a full-time job, she still got to do her hair and clean her bathroom. It's challenging to bring something together that's sustainable, even though we know what the issues are, even though we know what the remedies are. Individual capacity is difficult to come by, and everyone in this room knows that the volunteer work is a work of sacrifice. And so what I see as really exciting in Hartford right now is initiatives like the ones that brought you here today, Know Thy Neighbor in particular, being a convener of different organizations to find out what the best ideas and best practices and make connections. The CATF, we positioned ourselves to be able to do that on a larger scale as well, and working with Know Thy Neighbor and Hartford Food Commission to make things happen so that when there is an opportunity for someone to volunteer, we have the resources to give them something for their time, to make their lives a little bit easier as they live that life of sacrifice. My daughter's here, she's tired of hearing me say it. Rising tide lifts all boats. We're gonna do this together, but it takes intentionality because as a volunteer-led organization, the CATF has been primarily, the CATF has been primarily the only consistent entity at the table because the organizations that support the CATF have changed staff. And even you see it within the city, elected officials have changed, staff members have changed, some positions have gone unfilled when people left. And so it requires strategy to make sure that we implement programs, processes, and supports that encourage neighborhood participation. Other than that, we're going to go back to trying to survive and not being able to thrive collectively.
Yeah, thank you for that. So I do want to amplify a point that both of you made about, one, sustainability, because individual capacity is a very limited resource, no matter how much we want to do and do more. So once again, I'm going to encourage all of you to understand your power in the process. These folks are connectors. They are the ways for you to get the things you are looking for, but there is power in numbers, and they all individually can only get so far. But with y'all who are creating a clear understanding and providing an honest perspective, who's giving real insight, because we're having the same conversation, but I'm hearing two different perspectives. I'm hearing two different ends of the spectrum, right? We have Sis Sabra, we have talking about what the community can do and how to take care of themselves, and you're warning. You're warning folks saying, like, I hear this, but that's not what I know, right? And then here you are saying, like, this is a thing that works for you, but we can only work as well as you inform us. So please out to us, please come to us, please give us information so we can improve our services for y'all, right? And so how many of us actually, we were talking heavily about a supermarket, a full-service supermarket. Are we all in favor of having access to a full-service supermarket? How many of us, in full honesty and full transparency, do a lot of online shopping? So, because sometimes it's hard to get to the stores, right? Or sometimes cheaper. And so I know that CATA spoke extensively about a supermarket. I know a lot of Hartford entities have been talking about it. Can you share some of the thoughts and ideas around how the supermarket is going to be accessible to the community with walkthroughs and with provision and planning for the build out potentially in Hartford?
I'm gonna pass the mic to the CATF on that one, but I just briefly, because I've been breaking the rules all day, why not? I just wanted to add to the great points raised about sustainability really quick, and just pose the question, sustainable for whom? And ask the folks in this room to hold us accountable as organizational partners, educators, nonprofits, et cetera, to, you know, in the spirit of it being community driven, to make sure it's really centered around y'all and sustainable from everything around what time the meeting is, whether it requires you to take off work, whether it's after work, whether it is volunteer when it should be compensated, and to just really shout you out for this huge sacrifice for working, you know, day jobs when this is most of our day jobs, and then showing up for free to do this work and actually adding huge value, more than really what the gift card can even reflect to all of the work that we do. So that's just an ask of y'all to hold us accountable, because most of us are committed to that in theory, but it'll take y'all to hold us accountable on really operationalizing that.
I would also like to elevate the need for acknowledgement of the gaps in the systems. So some of you operate organizations that, yes, operate Monday through Friday, but to think about the Alice population, those folks that are working sometimes multiple part-time jobs, and some are transportation challenged. We have to acknowledge the gaps in the system, and mutual aid was brought up. But we also have small organizations that may not have the development budget and the grant writers and all those folks that are working, serving marginalized communities. And organizations that exist that acknowledge the gaps have to be intentional about reaching out and working with those organizations that are filling the gap, right, and standing in the gap. Connecticut Harm Reduction Alliance is one of them. If we don't have short memories to think back during the pandemic, when we had 18-wheelers rolling up to neighborhoods to get food to our neighbors because they didn't have transportation to go to Rentschler Field, where, you know, folks were rolling up in Mercedes because everybody was experiencing food insecurity. We can't forget that, and we need to know and remember that food insecurity is still real and an everyday experience for folks living in our neighborhoods. So the organizations, we love the work that you do Monday through Friday. Let's be intentional about reaching out and partnering with those folks that are doing the work Friday to Monday, right? Thank you.
Thank you so much. So what I'm hearing is that it's important that the work they do is a big bulk of the support that the community needs, but the organizations and origins are also a valuable resource, and there is some promise and some value to
finding a way to collaborate in some way as long as they communicate across tables. Because we are in silos. That's another thing. We all operate in silos until moments like these happen, and then we wonder why things are slowly progressing. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say that a lot of your organizations I never even heard of. I've heard of Food Share because I frequent Food Share and I've also volunteered at Food Share. But other than that, I don't know any of the other organizations. So I don't know if there's a way you can get out into the community. Like I go to a lot of, they have like community engagements and they have tables to letting you know who they are and you can sign up for the email so you can be informed and be able to know when your meetings are, what days and times. So if that's something you guys can do to get yourselves more out there, because I'm like, I never heard of some of you guys, some of your programs.
These organizations, I know Food Share is a rather large organization. How many people have a staff of 10 or less? 10 or less, yeah.
Like zero?
Zero, see? But they don't know this, right? Y'all have so much community presence. Y'all have, and so I want them to hear that there's limited capacity, right? And so community engagement might be a gap that needs to be filled by us. Somebody who knows about them can say, hey, this is a resource y'all can have, and this is what I've benefited from, and this is how I've experienced them. They need advocates that can access the community sometimes because they can only do so much until they're stuck in an office, right? So please, again, an invitation, this is really an invitation to continue to participate in the organizations that are trying to communicate and connect with you, because it can only go as far as the hands that empower them. Yes, Ms. Holter.
So I do want to answer your question about the grocery store, but I want to address your comment. We, as the CATF, have been pretty much in existence since 2017. As a group, we were able to get a part-time staff member through grant funds in 18.
But it was like 10 hours.
10 hours a week, okay. We now have someone who is able to work with us at twice that. They happen to share my last name and address, but they are the consummate professional, and they attend the community meetings and they represent the CATF Healthy Hartford Hub T-shirts. You know, they all were part of, yes, yeah, the beauty in the room, yes. And our email address that you can send a message, say, I heard about what you're doing, can you give me more information, is Healthy Hartford Hub, one word, healthyhartfordhub@gmail.com. And we were able to, through Instagram, Facebook, yes, that's, I don't know, they do. And also, through our partner organizations supporting grant writing, we got some money for a website.
Come on now,
and
progress.
It'll be coming soon. So exciting. So the more decision makers hear about what we need and want, and by we, I mean us, not me, the more we're able to find resources. People always say, well, there's no money, there's no money. There's always money. You just need to know where the money is, right? And have a will to appropriate it appropriately, right? So that's my response. HealthyHartfordHub@gmail.com, Facebook, Instagram. What else? That's it? I don't know.
The resources at the table.
There's also resources at the table concerning some of the data collection and report outs that we've already done for North Hartford. And I think the brochure about the Photo Voice project, I think when I passed the table, there was one left, but we spent about a year resident-led data collection with photos and narratives concerning food scarcity in Hartford. Did you want to say something? Okay. I'm coming to the grocery store. The CATF is a dynamic group. Come and join us. All right, restate your question so I can get the details.
So yeah, so there is this thing where we want the supermarket to happen. There's always concern that the supermarket will not thrive in the community, and there's concerns that if we build one out, that it'll just fall again.
what are some of the considerations that are being made this time when placing a supermarket in the city, and what type of considerations are you bringing in for the community to easily engage that business?
Thank you for that question. No business person in their right mind is going to establish a business in a neighborhood that's depressed. Because we're in business to make money, right? Even if you're running a business out of your house, the plan is to make money, right? So we need to look at what type of neighborhood is supportive of and enticing to the type of grocery store that we want to see. We need a grocery store that services Hartford and North Hartford in particular, that provides living wages for the people that live in the neighborhood. We don't need commuters coming to run a business that's just a replication of the money going to the suburbs in a different model. If a grocery store doesn't have culturally appropriate food, I'm not shopping there. And neither are my neighbors. So the operator needs to be connected with the community to make sure that not only is the produce affordable, but it's desirable, right? We talked about what our neighborhood needs in terms of education. The grocery store operator needs to have a commitment to engage with the CATF and other associated groups to make sure that we're providing cooking classes and life. This one right here, the one I was talking about, the beauty in the room, her name's Mary. I thought so. We never met a Mary I didn't like. You distracted me. Classes. We have a clear understanding of how these subpar foods in our neighborhoods feed into the health disparities we're experiencing. Cancer, high blood pressure, diabetes, inflammatory diseases, you name it. They're all either diet related or can be diet controlled. Right? But the foods that we're getting in our neighborhood from the under-resourced corner stores and bodegas are mostly processed and highly inflammation causing. All right. So I'm addicted to sugar. I like salty, crunchy, sweet. Right? That's what I do. Right? Less often than I used to, and this is why I brought up Mary, because she's gone vegan on me, y'all. And we have to find a way to make collard greens taste like grandma's without the oil, salt, and you can't do it without turkey legs, but we could do turkey legs instead of some of the other. I'm not preaching about the food. And so the grocery store operator has to be committed to engage in that type of dialogue and to help us provide the services that are going to help our community grow. 1, 2, small businesses surrounding the grocery store that align with the health promoting theme that make it a desirable area. We have artists that want outlets and different things within that area. I'm talking about the Arrowhead Gateway. If people don't feel safe in their neighborhood, they're not going to shop there. The way to ensure safety is to make sure that owner-occupied homes are prevalent and that we facilitate connection with our neighbors through a family life center, classes in life skills, community building. That's what's going to make the neighborhood, the grocery store, viable and attractive and sustainable. Because the last thing the CATF is going to do is support something that's going to be a flash in the pan and a disappointment to Hartford again. We've had enough of that.
Now we have a question in the audience.
Oh,
Hi.
okay. It's not so much.
If you can go on the mic for translation.
All right, this is to Food Share. The young lady spoke about having an emergency, and they made her wait at the end of the line. That seems to me like not being better trained. An emergency means they go to the front of the line. Second of all, is there any way that you can put online that they can go through the library and sign up for a year? So if an emergency arises, they can get there and not get that kind of hassle. To you, sir.
Yeah.
Is it on? We are working on that. We also have partners that provide emergency bags. So we are in the process of doing that. So thank you for bringing that up. I want to let you know that we are working on that.
Thank you. Yep.
Yep. I just wanted to briefly add to some of Denise's excellent comments about the grocery store. As I said, my role, I'm a researcher, I'm a social scientist, I'm a policy person. I gave you all that background before. My role with the CADF and the Healthy Hartford Hub is to sort of draw a straight connection from evidence, right? So to the point of it not making every effort for it not to be yet another project that goes up and fails. Like my mom always tells me, there's nothing new under the sun. And while Hartford is an amazing place, and communities like this come together doing amazing work, there are so many cities across the country that have taken on food insecurity, food deserts, and food swamps. And so why not learn from the good things they did and avoid the things that they didn't do right? So that's my role. I study food deserts and supermarkets across the country. That's my bread and butter. And I wanted to highlight some really cool things about the way that this Healthy Hartford Hub is coming about that stands out from the way other people have done, or other groups have done this across the country. One of our go-to examples in when a community or a local government and developers find a food desert on the map and add a supermarket, one of our go-to in the fields is Philadelphia. And a lot went right, but a lot went wrong. So when I met these great folks here in Hartford, the first thing I shared with them is, from my read of those evaluations, the community was left out of the conversation. They had planned everything, they had decided everything on the shelves, they had marked it all out, and then FYI, right, turn on your news, FYI, this is coming to you soon. And the community said, excuse me, who is this for? I know this store with $6 apples is not for me. Where are my green seasonings? Where are my plantains? And so while you shop, food is intimate. And I think what's really important in this food justice-oriented work is for us to continue to elevate that people are sophisticated, and Black and brown people don't want to be treated like children. And you just sort of telling me handout that you're doing this for me is not, those days are over, right? And so I think to the credit of the work in Hartford is this has been a groundswell, community-led, what kind of operator do you want? What kind of spices do you want? Are you an operator that's going to do some community conversations with us? If not, we don't want you. Okay, and so I want to say that I am claiming victory that in 10 years from now, Hartford is going to be one of the biggest success stories of how to do this from a resident-led perspective with all the organizational help. So that's one good thing. The other part is the recognition of health promoting services, not treatment. Because yes, the treatment is needed, but there's a lot of money in that, and people are showing up for that. By the time the dialysis centers are popping up, we want to get on the other side. How do we prevent it? And so the vision that the CADF has been promoting is, we call it a health utopia. Okay, everything good, smoothies and salads and Soul Cycle and cafes to convene and inspire one another, the whole thing. That's the vision. And so what's needed to make that work? As a policy girl, I told you I'm a policy girl, the CADF's pillars are trying to get at root causes, right? Because food is the hook, but it's a deeper neighborhood issue. There's some deeper structural root cause issues to how we got here. So we need to do both and I know that makes us tired just to hear, right? It's like I gotta be filling out the food and I gotta dismantle structural racism at the same time, and it's only Tuesday. But that's the heart and love and spiritual work of this work. And so the catalyst plan addresses bringing bodegas along via our Healthy Overlay District proposal. So please, if you're not hearing about that, please engage with us. We are working that through the city. We are trying to refine that in partnership with the CADF, we being the Invest Health Partners and the CADF, to set the hub up to win. That's one ingredient. But for the store to work, the rest of the ecosystem needs to be primed for health. The whole thing.
Yes.
It's not going to work if it's plopped in the middle of what we call a food swamp. Because guess what? The people that weren't coming to that street will come for the store, they'll grab some McDonald's on the way, maybe a little bit of liquor, a little bit of cigarettes, and so on, and the rest doesn't work. The whole thing needs to be health thriving. So we're thinking neighborhood level. And the last thing I'll say is that the Healthy Overlay District proposal includes economic constructs, right? Because food, health, there are other social determinants and structural determinants. The community wants economic opportunities. So there's precedent for folks dropping it, other cities creating a store and carving out a proportion operator. Can you allocate a certain proportion of these jobs to the community? And they're doing it. You just have to hold them accountable. They're doing it. That could be part of our speed dating with the operator. Are you willing to do this? If not, next. What's that app? Swipe left. Swipe left. Next. We have options, so take that power back. You guys are choosing who your operator is. And the last thing I'll say is I'm a zoning person. I'm looking at Martha. She's my road dog on all the zoning stuff on the partners. Just the small things. One of the issues that when a grocery store operator comes to a place like Hartford where it's not wide and spacious like it might be in the South, right? Parking is an issue. And so they come and they look, oh goodness, you know, can I make this work? So little contract things like lowering the minimum. You know, parking, yes, but not requiring them to have 200 spaces of parking, because how would they make that work? But those are little zoning tweaks that we can sit down and have a conversation to set the store up to win, but the whole neighborhood to win.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, I love your passion, Doc. You have no idea. You're over here, I'm having a hallelujah moment. So one thing I want to emphasize is the majority of the people on this panel are in policy. That means that they help impact they're in the ear of someone who can make the rules. And if they're not talking to you, they don't know what you want. If you're not talking to them, they don't know what you want. And so how, in order to experience more dignity in the process of accessing nutritious food, in the process of getting the wages you need to afford the food that's coming in, because a store is nice, but when the food stamps don't match up to the cost of food, how are you feeding yourself adequately, right? When jobs are not adequate enough for them to not even have to use the system to have the dignity of having food, where is that going to work, right? So there's more systemic things that need to be considered, but with food specific or anything specific to your experience of your community, get to know all of them. Don't be shy. There's no better person to do it but us. Period. They can't do it alone. So let them know what you need. I see you have your hand up. I wanted to see if you
Okay.
Yeah. We need translation for our neighbors.
Okay, does anyone remember Manpower?
Yeah.
I don't want to see a grocery store that has the money, the capital, hire people, have them work for all the photos and the newspaper write-ups, and then a month later or 6 months later, you don't see those people in that store anymore for an excuse. Another thing we need to stop doing is when you go to look for an apartment or a house, stop steering them to one neighborhood. We belong in every neighborhood.
Agreed.
People that look like me is in every country in the world. Why I can't be on this side of town? We need to stop that. And we want stores. I agree with you, because we need a whole lot of stuff, and I like spicy food. Not good for me, but I like it. So we need stores that represent everyone in this world. Not just some people, everybody. So if I want collard greens, I can get collard greens. You know, if I want zucchini, I can get zucchini. Until we start learning to do that and teaching our children and our neighbors who don't know about zucchini that fries up really good. You know, we need to go around and start having some more forums on teaching them how to cook this stuff.
Can I get your name, sis?
Me?
Ma'am, yes. Your name.
Talia Orr.
Talia, it's a pleasure to hear from you. Honestly, I appreciate your passion and your contributions. I appreciate everybody's participation in this conversation. It does not stop here. Right? It does not have to stop here. Get to know these folks. They want to see you again. They want to hear from you again. Take this passion when it's not in a large room. Take it in a private conversation. Do it over lunch. Send an email. Write a letter. Make a phone call. Do something to get connected because they'll have no excuse if all you're doing is engaging them. They can't ignore you, right? So please know we are grateful for this engagement and this conversation. We thank you for your input. Panelists, y'all have done amazing. Thank you for all the work that you have done and all the passion that you have given us. Dave, I don't know if there's any last comments you would like to make on behalf of the Third Age Initiative, but thank you for having us, and we hope to continue to move the needle forward.
Marisol, could you close us out, please?
So we want to thank you all so much for participating today. For community participants who registered and participated today as well, don't forget to turn in those evaluations and pick up your gift cards as you go out. We do hope that you will consider volunteering to assist the task force or the Hartford Advisory Commission on Food Policy, because this is such an important topic. And thank you for our speakers, facilitators, and note takers. Special thanks to those whose generosity made this event possible. The Betty Knox Foundation, Hartford Reach Grant from the CDC, Third Age Initiative, volunteers, Force City Works, and Hartford Food System. So I'm going to repeat this in Spanish. So muchas gracias para todos que participaron hoy, para la comunidad, los participantes que se registraron hoy. No se olviden de llenar sus evaluaciones y dárselas a nosotros. Por favor, consideren si quieren ser parte de alguno de estos grupos de la task force hoy que hablaron y de la comisión de la comida. Y muchas gracias. Si no tienen nada que hacer o si quieren hacer algo, si pueden asistir, porque eso es muy importante para la comunidad. Y queremos darle las muchas gracias que pusieron los dineros para hacer esto posible. La Betty Knox Foundation, Hartford Reach y la comisión que nosotros tenemos, que son para los voluntarios for City Works y el sistema de Hartford de comida. Gracias, que pasen buen día.